The second part of lesson 4B deals with a little bit of a reading, and we have a new chart here that we're going to fill in together. And then I'm going to help start the short response on page 73, but you will be responsible for finishing it. So the story says, from the history and description of Africa. Whenever you see this word from, that means this is coming from a larger publication, so a larger book or a magazine. So this may be a section or a chapter or something that might be in there. Okay? So the history and description of Africa. It says, born in 1485, Leo Africanus traveled across the Sahara to the city of Timbuktu in West Africa. His account provides a glimpse of life there in the early 1500s. In the center of the city is a temple, and in addition, there is a large palace constructed by the same architect where the king lives. The shops of artisans, the merchants, and especially weavers of cotton cloth are very numerous. Fabrics are also imported from Europe to Timbuktu, borne by Berber merchants. The inhabitants are very rich, especially the strangers who have settled in the country. So much so that the current king has given 2 of his daughters in marriage to 2 brothers, both businessmen, on account of their wealth. There are many wells containing sweet water in Timbuktu. In addition, when the Niger River is in flood, canals deliver the water in the city. Grain and animals are abundant, so that the consumption of milk and butter is considerable. But salt is in very short supply because it is carried here from Tagaza, some 500 miles from Timbuktu. I happened to be in the city at the time when a load of salt sold for 80 ducats. The king has a rich treasure of coins and gold ingots. One of these ingots weighs 970 pounds. Could you imagine that? A gold bar. So those of you that play Minecraft, my nephew plays, so I know kind of what is involved, but an ingot is like, I'm assuming one of those bricks that are like gold or iron or something. So could you imagine one of those weighing 970 pounds? That's a big piece of gold. Okay. There are in Timbuktu numerous judges, teachers, and priests, all properly appointed by the king. He greatly honors learning. Many handwritten books imported from Barbary are sold. There is more profit made from this commerce than from all other merchandise. Instead of coined money, pure gold nuggets are used, and for small purchases, cowrie shells, which have been carried from Persia, and of which 400 equal a ducat. And Barbary right down here, okay, because we had the little one, so we look down here. It's a region north of the Sahara Desert. So the close reader habit says, why did the king of Timbuktu think of culture, or what did he think of culture and learning? Underline the sentences that show what the king thought. Okay, well, there was one very, very obvious sentence. He greatly honors learning. Okay, what did he think of culture and learning? He greatly honored them. And how do we know he greatly honored them? Okay, we need to include a little bit more details here. It says, there are in Timbuktu numerous judges, teachers, priests, all properly appointed by the king. These are all people who teach us something. Okay, judges, teachers, and priests, they teach us something. He greatly honors learning. You also need a lot of knowledge to be in any one of these areas. Okay, so with our little story here, we have a chart. And it says to use what we learned from the eyewitness account. So what we read was an eyewitness account from Leo Africanus, okay? And the chart shows causes and effects from the text. Complete the chart by drawing X's in boxes to connect the causes with the effects. Some causes may have 2 effects, okay? So don't get worried if we have some, boxes here that have 2 X's in them versus just 1. And our little hint over here, it says an eyewitness account gives the point of view of a writer who was there. Eyewitness accounts typically tell what the writer experienced, okay? So this is like you, if you were involved in something and someone asked you to tell your story, that would be an eyewitness account. Now, down the side we have causes, and on here we have effects. So our first cause, Berber merchants set up trade routes in Europe. Okay, we read that in our last lesson, part 1. Okay, so it says Berber merchants set up the trade routes. Well, what's going to happen? Timbuktu merchants become rich. There were many judges, teachers, and priests, or salt was imported from 500 miles away. Now, we know, okay, in the article, I'm not going to show it, but I will explain where it is. In paragraph 2, it states that, okay, fabrics and also imported from Europe to Timbuktu. This was borne by the Berber merchants. They had artisans and merchants, especially weavers of cotton cloth. Okay, so they had a lot of action going on. They're going to earn money from that. Okay, it says right in paragraph 3, the inhabitants are very rich. Okay, because these merchants set up the trade routes, Timbuktu merchants are become rich. Now, because there are trade routes, is that why there's judges, teachers, and priests? No, this is what we underlined to show what the king of Timbuktu thought about learning and culture. Okay, salt was imported from 500 miles away. Well, it had said in paragraph 3 towards the bottom, but salt was in very short supply because it's carried here from Tagaza, some 500 miles from Timbuktu. If you don't have trade routes, are they going to be able to ship it 500 miles? No. Okay, so because they have trade routes, the salt was imported from 500 miles away. Okay, our second cause, grain and animals were plentiful, but salt was not. Well, I just read the sentence that said salt was in short supply. And if salt is in short supply, that means they had to import it 500 miles away. Now, because they had grain and animals, and it says they were plentiful, when you trade things like that, you're going to become rich. So far, both of our causes have the same kind of effects. But we haven't found anything that really relates to this yet, because grain and animals and salt not being, plentiful, that's not going to relate to judges, teachers, and priests. So the king respected education and learning. Now we have something different. Because he respected education and learning, does that make them rich? Does that make merchants rich? Traders rich? No. Does that mean there were many judges, teachers, and priests? Well, yes, this is what we had underlined previously in our close reader habits. Because he respected education and learning, does that mean that salt is going to be imported? No, that doesn't really relate to any education and learning. Okay, so we found our one cause that has the effect of many judges, teachers, and priests were appointed. Okay, so our short response tells us, use evidence from your organizer and the text to explain how Timbuktu became a center of culture and learning. Use the space provided on page 73. You know how Miss Testa loves how this book is set up. Okay, at least with this lesson, all we have to really do is flip the page and you will see it labeled the history and description of Africa. Okay, now you see another chart here, causes and effects. Filled this in now. This is our third time filling it in. Okay, I'm going to help you fill this chart in, and then you're going to put all of that into a sentence down here. Now it says use phrases such as because and as a result to show the relationship between stuff. Okay, so if I had let you do this on your own, would you know what to put up here? Probably not, because it just says use the cause and effect organizer below to organize your ideas and evidence. You have to look at what the question is asking you. So it says use evidence from your organizer in the text to explain how Timbuktu became a center of culture and learning. Okay, this whole end part. Now this is easy for us, because if we take that, if we're explaining how something happened, that's going to be our effect. Okay, so we're going to fill that right into the effect box. Okay, so we're going to write Timbuktu, okay, became a center of culture and learning. Okay, so Timbuktu became a center of culture and learning. What are my causes? So we talked about one cause before. Okay. So our first cause we're going to put is what? The king of Timbuktu felt what about culture and learning? Okay, he greatly honored it. Okay, so the first cause was that the king honored, okay, culture and learning. And now I'm going to give you a few extra details in here because it will help you out down here. This shows, okay, because they want you to use the phrases such as a result. This is the result right here, okay? He appointed many judges, teachers, okay, and priests. So make sure you explain this a little bit more. And priests. Okay, they're all involved in Timbuktu culture and learning. Now, a second cause that we could say was that trade, okay, so we had read something. I'm going to flip back real quick so I can give you the paragraph it's mentioned in so that you need to go back. Paragraph 4, okay, it's where we underlined. Actually, you know what? I'll just show you. It's where we underlined this. Now, the second cause is right here. Many handwritten books were imported for Barbary are also sold. There is more profit made from this commerce than any other merchandise. Okay, so that means the books made more profit. So he's going to value that education, the learning, the culture. Okay, so what happened? Okay, so we're going to say trade in books was, well, we're going to include the detail here because I don't want you to forget it. Imported from, okay, Barbary were more profitable than anything else. If books are more profitable, that means you're going to really value that learning. Okay, it's getting you more money. So he's going to value that. Okay, so more profitable than anything else. Now, you're going to take these causes, and I gave you some of the details, and if you listen to what I've said, you have all the information to write this. Okay, T-A-D-D-W. Don't forget with the D's here, explain. Okay, don't just say it was profitable. What does that mean? Okay, they got more money, and that means more books came, and books are important to learning. Okay, I'm giving you all the answers. You just have to listen to what I'm saying. Then make sure you wrap it up. You can say, as a result of this or these causes, Timbuktu became a center of trade, center of culture and learning. Okay, you are responsible for completing this. I will check it when we return back to school. All right, so you have the independent practice after you complete this. Okay, whether you take a break, you do the next part tomorrow, that's fine. The independent practice assigned is pages 74 through 79. Okay, you'll see a familiar charts in there. Read them carefully, go back into the text, and yes, you do have to do the learning target, okay? So you have this story, you have a chart here where you're marking the X's, and then you have, okay, a little bit of writing to do. So it should take you through 79, okay? So you have the story, a couple multiple choice, a chart. Okay, continue. Yes, you have to fill in the learning target. This is what your grade will be based on when we come back.